that moment right there, sitting in the hospital, not knowing what's next, that was the first real defining moment in my life that like I just grew up in a matter of seconds.
Peter Bartels még nem töltötte be a 30-at, mégis túl van 2 olyan életét teljesen felforgató eseményen, amit egyáltalán nem is tervezett. Peter csak 15 éves volt, amikor elhagyta Ghánát, a szülőföldjét, és Amerikába költözött, hogy megvalósítsa álmát, vagyis hogy egy egyetemi ösztöndíj segítségével hivatásos, kosárlabdázó legyen. Az első változás ekkor következett be, egy hirtelen tragédia következtében, aminek köszönhetően végül New Yorkból Debrecenbe kellett költöznie. Szerencsére a második fordulat már a saját belső elhatározásából született, 4 évvel később, amikor úgy döntött, hogy az orvosi tanulmányait abba hagyja, és pénzügyi területen folytatja tovább. Most pedig folytassa Peter, aki megosztja velünk cseppes sem könnyű, nem mindennapi, és egy nagyon emlékezetes történetét.
Peter, I'm very happy to be here with you, and you have an amazing story. But before we dive into the details, just let's start with the very beginning, okay? So my first question is that where are you from?
I was born and raised in Accra, Ghana. This is in the west of Africa. Okay. And I lived there for about 15 years. And then life took me other places.
So what was the next chapter in your life?
Well, when I left Ghana, at that time I was in primary school, so preparing to go to high school. And I took it was like a end of primary school trip with my mom. We ended up going to New Jersey to just live with my aunt. And during this time, you know, when it got time for me to go back to Ghana to go to high school in Ghana, my mom asked me, look, it's we can, based off of your genetic blessing of being this tall, we could take advantage of, you know, the school system here. And you can go to school in America and try to get a scholarship to go play basketball. That would save us, you know, the enormous amount of money that they would have to pay for an American university. After the summer vacation of leaving primary school, my mom sat me down. We were in my aunt's house in New Jersey, and she sat me down. She's like, look, if you want to pursue this avenue, you can. If you want to go back to Ghana, you can. Being a 15-year-old boy, I'm like, no, I'm staying here.
And where did you continue your studies?
I started high school in Paramus Catholic in New Jersey. And luckily was able to join the basketball team and the football team and the track and field team. It was fulfilling. It was fulfilling for the most part until the end, when the final objective was approaching. Like, hey, you've been here for 3 years now. It's time to go to college. Where's that basketball scholarship? You know, like stuff like that. So American sport and American high school sports, it can be track and field, it could be chess, it can be any kind of sport. That summer before you leave high school to go to college is very, very critical, because this is where you advertise yourself a lot to college scouts or college, like, you know, universities that would like to offer you a scholarship to come to there.
And what happened during that summer?
Had a job doing landscaping, which is you know, cutting grass and whatnot. And at that time, during that job, which was in the summer before I was going to university, on the job, like one of the lawn mowers cut one of my toes off, which it was very traumatic, and it took me out of it limited me walking, let alone playing basketball and advertising myself. to universities or whoever. So that summer, that critical summer that I was supposed to be preparing to go to some university to play some sport, I was in the hospital. I mean, for me, that was the first real moment for me in my life, because up until that point, I'd been a kid, and my reality was kind of formed by my parents and like what they provided for me. But this was like the first time that I was trying to achieve something for myself, and I was just, through no fault of mine, could no longer pursue that. That moment right there, sitting in the hospital, not knowing what's next, that was the first real defining moment in my life that like I just grew up in a matter of seconds, you know. And that was like one of the first time realist impacts towards like where the direction of my life was going.
So as I understand, you started your dream life when you were 15, and you put a lot of energy into the basketball and the sports and so on. And after this accident, everything just disappeared. So as an 18-year-old boy, how could you, let's say, manage this situation? How could you deal with the situation?
For me, I was sitting in the hospital bed and just thinking like, yo, okay, so like, what now? Like, what are you gonna do now? And for me at that point in time, like the sports, I was kind of doing it for myself. But in the back of my mind, I was doing it just to like, kind of satisfy my parents. I felt like, oh, like, this, look at me, I'm out here trying to do something to support my family. You know what I mean? To join in the effort of my family success. You know, I'm doing my part. I'm doing my part to help the family, right? And that was the first big falling on your face and realizing like, yo, you're a child. You don't know this world. You don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow. I can say what kind of helped me move forward were two things. One of them was realizing that, look, there's nothing in this life that you can forecast it as much as you want, but we really don't know. We don't know what's going to happen in the next 30 minutes from now. We don't know. You, whoever is watching or wherever you are, you don't know what's going to happen, because this world is full of individual people that have their own paths, and we're all reacting to each other as we go. And another driving force that kind of made me get up and want to do something again which is a negative thing, is trying to prove to my parents that I can still be a part of the effort to support the family success. Like, you know, I'm gonna go into medicine.
Okay, so as I understand, you decided to be a doctor. So why did you choose this profession?
It sounds like, now that I think like back about it, it sounds so immature, and like, because I was good at chemistry and math and biology. And at the time as well, the aunt that I told you about that we went to stay with in New Jersey, she was a nurse. A registered nurse, and she worked very close with doctors, and she kind of implanted this idea into my parents' head that, look, this guy, he's amazing, he gets good grades in the sciences, look, let's send him down this path of being a doctor.
And when you decide to start your studies in the field of medicine, what was the next step?
To go to St. John's University, which is a Catholic university, Staten Island, but then I would be having classes in Queens as well. The end of the first year comes and the bill comes. And then my parents are like, hey, look, so let's do the math. You know, there's like, by the way, like I have 11 siblings, including myself as 12. Yeah, including myself, 12. So okay. 2 moms, so don't, okay. And 3 adopted as well. Okay. So my parents sit me down, they're looking at the bill, they look at me, they look back at the bill, and they're like, yo, son, we love you, but like we need to spread the love evenly amongst like all the kids. So we can't keep spending like this huge amount of money like just on you. So we've looked at other options, and like we think you should consider them. And one of the options was Hungary.
Okay.
Hungary, and it was maybe 75% cheaper than what I was paying in New York. For me, at that point, I felt like I had disappointed my parents like a lot. So I just was doing anything that they would like suggest. So they said Hungary. I didn't even think about it. I didn't even do any research about Hungary before I came. Okay. Can you imagine that?
Oh.
I didn't do any research about Hungary before I came. Mm-hmm. And so I landed in Hungary. I arrived in Budapest Terminal 3, did not spend 1 second in Budapest, went straight through the M3 right to Debrecen. But then when I arrived to Debrecen, like I really just settled down with this idea of being a doctor. For me, there were two moments that really stood out to me that like, okay, these moments, like they changed everything. This was the point I realized, look, this stuff is not the same, like something needs to change now. And the first time was when I was going to my friend Sharon's house to get some like notes. I'm telling Sharon, I'm like, Sharon, like, why are you doing this? And she's like, look, Peter, like, I don't see myself doing anything else. And at that moment, I was like, I just sat back in my chair. I was like, yo, I can't say this. Science is cool. I like how the integration of science and technology is like where it's going to be in the next 20, 50, 60 years. But I'm not this guy. I'm not a doctor. She's a doctor. She really cares about people. And the second moment really was a combination of things. I did the BMC, the basic medical course. I failed it the first time. So then I did the basic medical course again, and I failed. I mean, I passed it the second time around. So then I went to the first year. So off the excitement, off the how finally, in med school, I go through the first year and I fail that again. So I'm like, okay, I'll take another whack at it. So I do first year again and I pass it. So it's like some sort of validation, like I told you guys, like I can do this. So then I went to second year, end of second year, I epically fail. And then at this point I'm like, look, I can't take twice, like double the time to finish the school as as I would need. And at the time, I was living with my landlord. She literally would take care of me. She would cook for me all the time. She would offer me palinka whenever she's having guests over. She'd literally invite me into her home as a child. And throughout one of our talks, I was like, Zita, I don't know. I think this is what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life. Like, this is all I'm qualified for, blah, blah. And then she tells me, like, look, Peter, like, straight up, like, I knew from the beginning, like, when I saw you, like, I don't think you're a doctor, I think you're, like, a businessman. Like, the way you communicate with people, the way that you carry yourself and all that stuff. She's like, look, go into business. A couple months later, a friend of mine that was in Budapest at the time that left Debrecen Medical School came to Budapest. He told me, look, there's a international business school. You should try and like apply, like if you're not doing anything now. So I'm like, okay, best. So I called up my parents. So, and which was also a final like validation of like, yo, like you think you need to impress your parents, but all you need to do is show them that you're happy. You know what I mean? You're happy doing what you love, and that's what I didn't get from the beginning. I thought it was being successful was based off of doing what they wanted me to do, like making them happy. So then I applied and I got accepted into IBS, and then I started in 2015. I'm happy to say I graduated this summer, BSc Financial Management. And I mean, it was a weird feeling to actually go to the school and actually enjoy what you're doing and pass each year without failing like any classes. Like it just felt like a completely different experience. And that wave of happiness, I've ridden it up until today that we're talking, you know, because it's all me. This is all my decisions, and like I'm happy. I liked finance so much that I started a master's degree in finance as well, because there's still more that I want to know in finance, you know. But that's pretty much like.
Ha neked is van hasonló, inspiráló karrier történeted, mint Peternek, akkor mindenképpen oszd meg velem a hello@karriermesék.hu e-mail címen. Ha tetszett a videó, akkor nyomj egy lájkot, iratkozz fel a csatornámra, és oszd meg a barátaiddal. És soha ne feledd, ha nem vagy elégedett a szakmai életeddel, akkor nem kell szenvedned. Válts perspektívát, válts, hogy valóra váltsd, és te is legyél hős. Hello!